Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. That's right. We're still in the season of Christmas. Christmas keeps on going for a few more days till Wednesday. We move into the time of Epiphany, which lasts us all the way to Lent. We'll be in Epiphany for several weeks. And it's the time in the church calendar that we celebrate Christ's public ministry, not just to Jews, but to Gentiles like you and me. And so as we spend one more Sunday in Christmas, remembering the greatest gift the world has ever received, Jesus. Friends, this baby that was born on Christmas morning, he was God. He wasn't just any old baby. He was actually God becoming flesh. And he moved into the neighborhood, into our shame and embarrassment, to love us. Not just the beautiful parts of us, not just the religious parts of us, or the good parts of us, but the ugly parts of our hearts, the deep, deep sinful parts of our life. And not only does he love us, but he sits with us in the mess. He moves into the neighborhood, John 1:14, and he ultimately dies for us while still in the neighborhood. But his early years were not so easy. In fact, none of his life was that easy. In fact, it was very hard, especially on his parents. These same parents who just 9 months earlier found out they were going to have a baby, and now Mary is all but 14 and Joseph maybe 19. And the story, a narrative that was put on them without their wishing. All their hopes and dreams have been flushed, and they are being forced, whether they like it or not, into this narrative. It's almost as if it was predestined on them, because, well, it was. Our gospel today picks up just after the birth of Jesus. The Magi had just come and worshiped him, and they brought him some pretty strange gifts, if you'll remember. They brought him myrrh and frankincense and gold. What odd gifts to bring a baby. Ladies, next time you go to a shower, why don't you take some myrrh, the spice used to kill the stink on a dead body? I want you to take a little frankincense, the incense used in Anglo-Catholic churches to usher in the Spirit of God and the worship of God. Or why don't you take them some gold? All babies love gold, right? And as they make their way home with these gifts that they had received, after a long 9 months, the Bible says in Matthew 2:13 that an angel visited them and instructed them to flee to Egypt. Could you imagine moving to a new country after giving birth because a crazy king wants to kill your new baby? They're not sure how much time is between the birth and the move. But if they were anything like me, they hate moving. I hate to move. As you know, we just moved a few months ago. We've been here for, 6 months now? And we still are unpacking boxes. Our garage looks like an episode of Hoarders. I really would like to take a match and just light it all on fire and say, hey baby, let's let it burn. We've not had it for 6 months. We probably don't need it. Jana won't let me do that. That's what I would like to do. But Jana is a wonderful planner. And all the planning that went into our move, it was still a massive headache. It reminded me of the time when we were in seminary. I just graduated with my MDiv, and Jana was very far along in her pregnancy with our first child, and she had him the day after graduation. And so I went to the seminary and told them, hey, we just had a baby. Could you give us an extra week or so before we have to move out of campus housing? And they said, oh, sure, we'll give you 3 extra days. 3 extra days. So what is that all about? It means we got to do 2 of the most stressful things life can offer you. Have a new baby and move 2 states over, an 8-hour drive in a U-Haul truck. It was loads of fun. And so when I hear this story with Joseph and Mary and baby Jesus and having to move because somebody's out to kill their baby, I can empathize. I actually get a little twitch because I can understand exactly what they must be going through. Plus, 10 times more, because nobody was out to kill my child. And so I can connect. I can relate. Let me set the scene. They had just traveled 70 miles to Bethlehem in order to be counted in a census and pay some taxes. And oh yeah, to deliver a baby, and not in a hospital with all the modern day equipment and pain meds. No, in a stable where her new husband, who she had never been with, mind you, received the privilege of delivering her baby. What a honeymoon. Can you see the scene? Poor shy Mary, wanting nothing more than her mom and perhaps the village doctor, had to settle for Joseph and a few cattle to comfort and deliver her. Listen, friends, this was no silent night. That song always makes me scratch my head a little bit. Listen, friends, there was nothing silent about it. No warm blankets, no warm room, just a cold stable with a bed of hay to lay back on. And many times we zoom right past that picture to the nice picture that we see in our manger scenes. Friends, it's a beautiful scene, but I think it's far from the reality of what was really happening. And yet in all the chaos of the delivery, God was present. In fact, he had never been more present than at that very moment, for he was being born as one of us, as a human with flesh and blood. Soon after this birth, they received visitors from the east in Matthew 2. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all of Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them, "Where is the Christ? Where was he to be born?" And they told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea. For so it is written in the prophet." Verse 6, "And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are by no means least among the ruler of Judea. Far from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." These wise men brought him gifts, and they worshiped him, and they had been asked by Herod to report back to him where the child was so that he could come and worship as well. But being warned in a dream, the king wanted to harm the Christ. They chose to return home a different way. Now, most scholars aren't sure how much time has elapsed. The only hint that we have is that soon after this, Herod will order that all baby boys under the age of 2 be killed. And this could mean two things. Either Herod was mad and out of his mind, and to be sure to kill the Christ, he wants all boys under 2 killed, or it could mean up to 2 years have passed since that new star had made its way into the heavens, and thus Christ could be perhaps 2 years old. Nonetheless, we see in our scripture reading today that the angel of the Lord visited with Joseph once again, and he tells him to move. This was not an unfamiliar scene for Joseph. He had seen this angel before. They were becoming friends probably, and it didn't scare him like it did the first time. And the angel simply said, "Take your child and wife and head to Egypt." In verse 13 it says, "And he is told to stay there until you hear back from me, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." What a scary thought. Has anyone in here had their child threatened in that way? I can't even imagine what was going through their minds. So Mary and Joseph had already been uprooted from their home. They had traveled a great distance just so they can be taxed by the government. They arrived to find no place to stay, so they slept in a stable, and the stress of the long donkey ride caused Mary to go into labor and having her baby in a not-so-great situation. And then, as if things couldn't get worse, a crazy king is going on a killing spree in the middle of the night. And the family is hastened once again to travel and to move 150 miles to another country known as Egypt. Where would they stay when they got there? How were they to plan? How long would they have to stay there? There was no answers, only questions. Questions that came from a dream. Questions that came from an angel, a voice that Joseph had heard before. And in good old Joseph fashion, once again, by faith, he followed the order. To us, this account takes up just a few verses in the Bible, doesn't it? We read through it and over it, missing a lot of the details. We like to rush on to the good parts of the story, the happy ending, if you will. For a moment, consider the story at hand. This was their life. A life, I remind you again, that was not their choosing. This was real stuff being imposed upon them. Real conflict, real stress, none of which were easy. What happened to their best life now? What happened to we're following Jesus now? Everything is going to be easy. I wonder just how many tears they shed, or how many blisters and sore muscles they got from their long journey by foot, or how many nights they went to sleep wondering what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day. I mean, this stuff is too good to make up. Our first world problems pale in comparison to this. Think about it. They have abandoned everything. They knew nothing. They left home. They left work. They left their families as newlyweds. They barely knew each other, and they left everything comfortable and normal. For what? For what? A dream and a baby. Never were they asked if this is what they wanted. God never consulted with them and asked them if they would be willing to do this, no more than he does with us. Can you empathize? Can you relate? Do you feel like your life possibly is spinning out of control like theirs? You see, this is a picture of just how out of control our lives really are. Yes, we think we are in control. Mary and Joseph thought they were in control, at least of the things of their world, but they were not. And from all accounts, they were okay with that. You see, there is an illusion that we create in our Western culture, the illusion of control. Listen, friends, we have no real control, and neither did this young family. Your destiny is planned, and the outcome is known. God knew what he was doing, and he knows what he is doing with you. God had chosen them for such a time as this, before the foundations of the world. And he has chosen you for such a time of this as well. You say, Jonathan, you don't know what I'm going through. I don't need to. God chose you and planned your course out long before you were even an idea in your mother's heart. You say, Jonathan, my situation is so different. I have this problem and that problem, and I've done this wrong and that wrong, and now God is punishing me. No, he's not. Listen to me. Nothing is happening to you that is outside the control and will and destiny of God. Everything is foreknown, and there is nothing you could have done to change your destiny. Listen, friends, we can relax knowing that God has everything under control. Listen, worrying and controlling and panicking and doom and gloom are for godless wanderers who don't know any better. And that's why Peter says in chapter 5, cast all your worries and cares on him, for he cares for you. Watch out for attacks from Satan, your great enemy, who prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. When you give in to worry and control, you fall victim to the lion. You say, but my life is so bad. Okay, who promised you a rose garden? Friends, no one promised lollipops and rainbows for those who were in the family of God. In fact, you will not find one example in the Bible where God's people had rainbows and lollipops, including Christ himself, who modeled for us giving up control. That's right, Christ gave up all control, full control, by becoming a baby. Babies control nothing in their environment. Christ received problems as they came, and he had no home, and he had no money, and the fairy tale story of Christ riding in on a white horse to save his people did not happen, and it's not happening for Mary and Joseph either. So why should it happen for us? Why should our life be easy when the life of Christ and his parents and even his followers were so hard? Why? I can promise you, this is not the fairy tale dream that Mary and Joseph dreamed up when they were falling in love. Oh, Joseph, I long to get pregnant out of wedlock and forced to leave my home and live in a land of Egypt with you. Oh, Mary, I'll do better than that. I'll get us kicked out of our country, and we'll challenge the king to kill our son and all the baby boys, and we'll move 3 times within a few years of each other. It'll be wonderful. This was not the plan, but it is the plan that God set for them. And I can almost hear God saying to them, did you personally think it was going to be easy? This life, I mean, what did you expect? The only thing that was good and right in their life was the baby right beside them, because he was the Son of God. And that's all they really needed. God doesn't give us the inside track, the play-by-play of their sleepless nights. Sleepless nights wondering just like we do, wondering if they misunderstood the dream or the angel. How many times do you think Joseph played back the tape of the dream in his head? Did I hear correctly? Did I do the right thing? Or what about the many days of Mary begging Joseph just to take her home? The sleepless nights of Joseph trying to figure out a way to get her back. On those days when they both hated Egypt, and on those days they remembered God, they didn't ask for this, and they reminded him of it. I'm sure that's what we would do. You know, the same type nights that you and I have, when things don't go our way, when we feel like God has made a massive mistake and we wonder why he is punishing us. Yet right now, in this moment, you are wrapped in his wonderful word. And if you will allow it, you will be comforted by his sweet sacraments in just a few moments at that table. And yet things will still come undone. You see, God leads us on so many nice mountaintops in life. But then he also calls us to walk down through the dark valleys. And it's easy to get angry and sideways and grumpy. It's easy to assume that if everything is not going according to our master plan, God must be missing a beat. But here's what God, the Lord of Lords, is doing behind the scenes. See, the sovereign Lord comes with power, and his army rules for him. He tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lamb in his arms, and he cares for them, and he holds them close to his heart, and he gently leads those that have young. Isaiah 40. You see, even when things don't go our way, and everything seems to be coming undone, and things will come undone, he's still the one. And for some reason, he keeps us on a need-to-know basis. He rarely gives us the big picture. And for those of us who are control freaks, that can cause stress and worry and fear, because we have this idea that we are more in control of our lives than we really are. And that's our Western minds thinking. I don't know why he does this to us. I wished I had a better answer for you when life doesn't go your way or those restless nights seem to never end. But I do know who holds the answers. King Jesus does. The king that came as a human baby to 2 teenage parents whose life was completely turned upside down. That same baby grew up to be a man and became a living sacrifice for you and for me. He defeated all of hell, and he reigns in heaven at the right hand of God. That king monitors and controls it all, even the small details of your life. And the good news is that he has been in control for all of eternity, even when Mary and Joseph were forced to travel to Bethlehem. Even when God's angel said, "Get up and go to Egypt," he was in control. Do you think maybe they were confused and stressed and fearful? Of course they were. Do you think they had questions? Absolutely. But God was at the helm. He was even at the helm while they were living in Egypt, waiting for the hours and the days and the months and perhaps the years for God's angel to say, "Get up, it's time to go home." They didn't need to know why. They just needed to know that the Lord was holding them and helping them. I think the same question is presented to us. Do we really need to know and understand all the whys and wherefores of our lives? All the twists and turns and detours and roadblocks? No. King Jesus is enough. He is in control. He moved into the neighborhood of your heart to love every part of you, even the ugly, unmanageable parts of you. And so as we spend one more Sunday remembering the greatest gift the world has ever received, it's the only news that allows me to get through the ugly injustices of the world. As I think of all the wrongs going on in the world today, why? No answers. Friends, the only thing that allows me to lay my head on my pillow in my nice, comfortable bed, in my nice, safe home, is knowing that King Jesus is in control and is enough. And it's in control and knows what he is doing. King Jesus has not fallen off his throne in 2020. Nope, he's sitting up there. He knows what he's doing, and the rescue plan is on the way. I can promise you that one day, all sad things, and bad things, and horrible things, and even 2020 will come untrue, and we will be set free. Even that thing that you're trying to solve and fix right now. And so on this Christmas morning, I remind you once again, rest. Rest. The King is in control.